Hi everyone, Evette Rose here from Reset Your Life Summit. And guys, I'm so excited to have guest speaker Lisa Winston here with me. Lisa, welcome so much. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's such a joy and an honor to be here. I can't wait to get into our conversation.
Oh, we're gonna have such a good time. And guys, for any of you who's new here with Lisa, Lisa is a professional singer. And let me tell you, I've heard her sing on social media, and it is absolutely just goosebump after goosebump. And she was also a band leader for 40 years. And she's also a #1 bestseller for her book, Turning Point, which you can also see there in the background. And she was also a co-host of the TV Mindset Reset TV show. And now, Lisa, you've also started something new with your career. You had a bit of a complete overhaul, but I didn't quite mention it to the audience because we'll dive into that a little bit later into the conversation. So, guys, I'm leaving a bit of a cliffhanger there for you, but with all good intentions. So, Lisa, I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I feel your energy. It's late here in Texas, and I am ready to go. I'm pumped up.
So great. And the beauty of Zoom, because this is also something that's actually talk about Zoom. This is also something that's really boomed over the last few year or two because of COVID, because of lockdown and the challenges that we've had with that. So it's so beautiful that we can connect with it. So there's a positive aspect to that as well, amongst many other. But we also have a few things, especially for me, been going through this. Now I can see the good things that came from it. But oh my goodness, at the time, it was an absolute nightmare. I really felt like hell just manifested like that on earth.
Yeah, me too. I mean, you probably know our story because you've already spoken to my partner, Joe.
Yeah.
But we were traveling. I got hit with neuro Lyme disease and 12 co-infections and almost died 2.5 years ago. And so I went through that, for about a year and a half, and just started to come back and feel a little bit better and was ready to get out into the world. And then the pandemic hit. Plus, Joe was going through a divorce, which lasted 3 years. So,
Yes.
yeah, talk about getting hit the last 2 years, 2.5 years. And I'm sure there are a lot of other people that have the same kind of challenges, but it's been rough. Yeah.
Now, what's also happening is that apart from COVID causing challenges and you're having your challenges, it's like you're having these different angles of challenges is coming at you from all different directions. I would feel very demotivated. I would feel very unresourceful, if that's the best way to describe that. And how did you manage that? What did that look like for you?
I love that question. At first, obviously, for all of us, it wasn't something we expected. All the intuitives I talked to and all the people that I talked to that have future vision, nobody saw it coming. So it was the big universal 2x4 for all of us, right? Slow down, everybody. So yeah, initially we got through all the difficulties and the fear and all that kind of stuff, but I really started seeing, it's so funny because I always used to say, I want to just stay home and do stuff, get stuff done and work and do all those things. And so I started seeing all these benefits. I started seeing my own insecurities and my own belief system coming up. And I thought, God, this is great because it was really sending all of us into a space of where we would get triggered. Now, you could just get triggered and, some people drink. I can't do anything. I'm a sensitive, so I don't do anything that's bad for my health. But it really drove me to go within, to look within, to get a lot of support, to work on my beliefs, and to also really look and see, am I doing what I'm here to do? Because as you know, a lot of us got hit. I'm in my 60s. And so for me, my mortality became very apparent. And so I thought, this is a really great time to jump in now. Life is happening now. We never know how much time we have, but COVID really brought that home to a lot of us. So what am I doing? Am I really aligned with my true soul purpose? What am I here to do, really? So I think it really motivated us. It gave us momentum to move into what we're really here to do, to look at ourselves and to take that time to just stop and be quiet, be still.
And when we talk about that silence, when we talk about that quietness, it was a tough place for me to meet, because it's in that place of silence where so much can come up. It is where and then we have to listen because there's no other distractions. We don't have the outside streets and the cars, or with meeting after meeting, to just kind of like drown out this inner dialogue that has now actually become quite loud over this time as well. And I know for me, in a way, I thought that I felt comfortable with my inner dialogue, but when push came to shove and all of this started to happen, at first I thought, this is great. Oh, I enjoy this quiet time. I enjoy the silence. And I was thinking, wow, it's like, this is good. But then the more the silence started to set in, the louder the voices became. And then I was like, wow, there's things being said and happening that I didn't quite like. And I really had to find ways to be creative, to kind of like move out of that, to kind of stay positive. And now we are starting to move out of lockdown. We are starting to move out of COVID. And that's the good news. But what I see also with people is that even though the signs of how life is now changing in the positive way, meaning the wave is starting to calm down, so many people are exactly emotionally and mentally exactly where they were a year ago. It's almost like we've become stuck in that state of survival and people don't know how to shake it off. And I think what I would love to also dive a bit into is to look at where and how have we become resilient in these moments, but we might not recognize that we have become resilient, because in our head, we're still stuck in a state of distress, but maybe the emotional body has moved on, or sometimes it can actually be vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Well, I mean, first of all, you're like me, I'm sure. I have a toolkit filled with all kinds of energy processes and breathing and all kinds of things. And so being sensitives, intuitives, empaths, we have to really find ways to manage the fear and the stress. And that's what I did. And I really love this last year. I'm getting to love it more and more because I'm writing my book, my next book, Be Brave Enough. And we're not going to talk yet about what I'm doing next, or what I'm doing now. But the resiliency is so important, that piece, because when challenges come, right? I liken it to being a tree in a hurricane, or whatever, that has very deep roots. The tree will bend and flex when the storm comes. And so a lot of people think resiliency is, you got to buck up and be tough, but that's not what it means. It's adaptability, it's fluidity, it's bending and flexing when things get rough. And so I don't know, I've seen a lot of people, yes, there are some people that are still married to their anger and they want to be in that realm. I chose, like I'm sure you did, to step away. It's kind of like, I don't want to add energy to the problem, because that's just creating more of the problem. I want to step out and I want to be different and do something different. So I am seeing also more people who are coming out now that really are more resilient than they know they are. And that's starting to be more apparent as things are changing and people are, starting to live life again. But that whole resiliency piece is so beautiful, because it was a forced stop. It wasn't something like, we all have things happen to us, but it was a universal, planetary, global forced stop. And so it affected everybody, and we're all one. And so I just love how, again, we have all become very resilient, except the people who are in total resistance, and you can see who they are. Stay away from those people, pull back, and really manage your energy, because I think that's a really important piece. Keeping your sanity, keeping your energy in a space that's different than everybody else's, so that you can help elevate yourself and the planet. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, where challenges build resilience within us, it's important to recognize in that moment as well that to become resilient is not necessarily having to fight against something, but it's actually saying, love yourself enough to recognize where's your threshold, where's your boundaries, where's your limitations, and to not perceive these limitations as weaknesses. It's actually just boundary limitations, which is actually healthy, because our body is designed to help us to manage our energy levels. It lets us know when we're tired. It lets us know when we need to stop, but we don't listen. And then we overstep that threshold limit. And that is when things can start to go wrong. So resilience, what I'm hearing from you saying, is we can build resilience
Oh yeah.
but actually just pacing the energy. I always say that life is a marathon, it's not a sprint.
Right.
We have to pace our energy throughout the marathon. You see, when people run, they run fast sometimes, and then they slow down a little bit, and they do a little power walk, and then they jog again, and then they pick up speed again. So you really just have to pace it based on your inner emotional resources as well.
Yes, I love that. And that's so true, the boundaries and everything. I think I learned greater boundaries this year myself. I learned to say yes to certain things. I learned to say no a lot this past year, which I never used to do. You know, I'm a recovering people pleaser. And this really helped me to get clear.
Yeah.
It's like I said, time is short and I'm here to do certain things and I'm going to do them and I'm not going to take no for an answer.
Yeah.
So I love that. That's really super important. And there's something else I wanted to say and I've forgotten what it was, but anyway.
It will come back. It will come
It
back.
will come back. It will.
Because at the end of the day, what we also have to do is that inner voice that we have, the intuition that we have. This is something that's been so challenged. It's been so deeply challenged with COVID and with lockdown and with all the fear, with all the conspiracy going on. And the best way to lose connection with our intuition is to buy into the fear, is to buy into someone else's state of anxiety and state of distress, because now we're tapping into our core survival instinctive responses, and we know how strong the body's biology is in terms of how we react to our environment, because it's the body's sole job to keep us alive. So if we start to think and hear of things and people around us that's going through this and this is happening, oh, this worst case scenario is going to happen, be prepared. We're constantly now moving into a state of distress because the body's thinking, I have to survive. I have to keep my host alive because we have to continue to the next day. And so it gets stuck in that state of distress. And I mean, I also know, and I'm sure you've had your moments as well, where you felt really stuck in places where you felt so much fear, but you couldn't hear that inner voice as well. And
Oh yeah.
I know this is something that you're really, really good at. So I would love to hear, what is your perspective in terms of how can we elevate our vibrations and then to tap in more powerfully into our intuition?
Yeah, that's a great question because I always talked about elevating vibrations before, but a lot of us are building our businesses. We're busy working and sometimes we get into the side. I'm a creative, so I don't like that side, the business side. It's hard. It's hard work for me. And so like you had said, we don't listen to our bodies. Our bodies are telling us things all day long. We've got a beautiful inner navigation system that we get to listen to or not, right? And when it comes to knocking, we need to pay attention to it. And so I just wanted to share this with you because just to show you that, yes, I have been dealing with stress too. I'm reading a book called The Upside of Stress, Kelly McGonigal, and it's a great book.
Okay.
How to turn stress around. It's so funny because really and truly, I'm really reading more about what we say, how we say it. I've always talked about raising your vibrations and positive thinking and positive speaking. But in reality, it's really true. They talk about stress. There are studies that are being done or have been done saying that when we say, oh gosh, stress is so bad, it's killing me. We are literally creating what we're speaking, thinking, and believing. So really, truly positive thoughts and talking about things in a different way, flipping it around, reframing it really does change everything. And that's part of elevating our vibrations, right? I mean, there are a lot of things we can do. We can do affirmations. I do a lot of, I'm sure you've heard of alternate breathing, which is really great because if anybody's been under stress or had trauma, the amygdala is affected. So our whole life becomes this fight or flight survival kind of a pattern. Mm-hmm. And so when you do that, you disconnect. So for me, I really learned to breathe a lot, do a lot of breathing, go within. It doesn't have to take a long time. Again, that's why we have a toolkit of little things that we can do. Elevating our vibrations. We can read, we can go out in nature. I love to paint. So I'm painting, singing, anything that you can do that makes you feel happy and brings you joy, you should be doing. And that's why my family is just, as part of my family anyway, is just hell-bent on being angry about things. And they think that that's going to actually change the world. And I beg to differ again. When we join our energy with the energy of those people on the planet who are angry, we are creating this gigantic cloud of anger that goes on and on and on. So we need to be the change. And so again, elevating your vibrations is so critical. Tapping into your intuitive, your intuition, your inner guidance, hearing what it's saying, listening to it, following it. There's so many pieces that it's funny, gosh, Evette, we have forgotten who we are.
I know, that's why it's reset. We have to reset this.
Yeah,
Oh
we're
my
not this 3D, this is an illusion. This is not real. We have this power. We are the power of the universe. We are the wisdom of the universe. And yet we don't tap in. We keep ourselves small and powerless. So when you really start to access the things that are truly you, that's when the game changes. Everything changes.
I could not have said it better. That's exactly what's happening. And I know there were moments where I felt deeply, deeply connected to my intuition when I started to feel like, wow, this is what it feels like. This is what it looks like. What were key moments for you where you started to realize, wow, my intuition is talking to me? What did it feel like? What's your
I'm so glad you're asking me that question, because it's so huge. I used to not listen. How sometimes we get the hit when we're driving down the freeway, hey, get off that exit. And you're like, no, that's silly, right? And you get into an accident or there's something ahead. Well, I used to do that until I had a situation where my daughter was involved and she could have been in danger because I didn't follow my intuition. From that day on, I was so mortified, that my daughter could have died, been kidnapped, whatever, that I decided, hey, this thing it's speaking to me knows everything. It's truthful. I can follow it. I can trust it. And so I have to share, first of all, Joe and we got together. It was all synchronicities. It was all following those divine hits, those downloads, those things that are unknown and don't make any sense sometimes, that lead you to the next step, and the next step. That's how we came together, by both following those synchronicities, those hits, that information. And then one of the coolest things I want to share with your listeners, your audience, is that back in November of 2017, I had just seen my mother. I was home for my 40th class reunion. And I went back to California, to San Diego, where I lived. And I got this hit that I was supposed to pack up all my stuff and go live with my mom. And I'm like, well, that's weird. Why would I do that? Well, I told my roommate, I said, I'm going to do it. I don't know what's going on. So I packed up all my stuff, put it in storage, got in the car, started driving from California to Pennsylvania. Halfway on my way to PA, I got a call from my sister saying, hey, mom was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer and she's dying. I get emotional when I say it, because I didn't know that. And if I had listened to my inner guidance and done that, now I know not everybody can do that, I would have missed, 6 months of the most incredibly difficult but beautiful, magnificent time with my mother until she passed. So this is how important it is to follow your inner guidance.
Wow, that's moving. And look where the path that it took you. It gave you precious time that you could have lost. And it also gave you someone really beautiful and precious to step into your life because you listened to your intuition.
Yes.
And what I wanted to also know from you is, because sometimes the biggest challenge that people have is, especially now, because we need to now learn how to calm the biology of the body down. We need to tell the body we're starting to move into a safer place and state. The worst waves are now starting to subside. We can really start to focus now on a more positive future. And to tell that to the body is sometimes a bit challenging, because the body's all about survival. It's like, no, it's not okay. No, it's not okay. I'm not safe yet. It takes it a while to realize that it is safe. And what I have learned is through mindfulness to tell the body consciously, you are safe. The past is no longer real. Right now, there's no threat. Look around you right now. In this moment, there is no threat. Given that that's the case for you, meaning for the people who's now listening here with us. And that already calms the amygdala down. That already calms the nervous system down. But still, when we are in the state of distress, what are signs that we can look for to listen to our intuition, to recognize it? Because sometimes we feel that it could be a fear, or maybe we think, no, we're overthinking it, or no, maybe it's something from the past that's now being triggered, and we think this is our intuition trying to talk to us, but this is maybe an old wound that is creating the discomfort or the imbalance that we're feeling.
I love that question. There is a game I play with my intuition. I've done a lot of things like,
Oh, I love this. Tell me.
really going within, and listening. It's hard when you really sit and try to listen because, again, you don't know what the voice is. You're like, am I making that up or whatever? There's so many different things you can do, but I like to play this game. So if you sit there and you just breathe in and feel in and ask your mind, your inner guidance, whatever you want to ask, whatever, you're asking your inner guidance really, but just say, ask it a question, just any question, something that's very simple, not a yes or no answer. And you can look for symbols and signs and colors and all kinds of things. Most people can't see anything. So what I like to say is, say you're playing with this and you want to ask your inner guidance a question about some action that you want to take, and you get an answer. Now, most people would say, how in the world could I decipher what's intuition versus my mind, right? So I say that the intuition is its truth. If you're hearing truth from your inner guidance, you will hear no chatter, no backstory, no running dialogue, no confusion. You will have nothing. You will have clarity. You will have a knowing. You will just know that that's the answer. On the flip side, if your mind is giving you the answers, you will have confusion. You'll have a story that starts to create another story and goes into another story. So remember, the mind only knows what from the past, right? It's on a loop. It doesn't have the universal mind information. It only knows what it knows. And so it'll stay on a loop. And so you can always tell, because the mind is always trying to search for answers, right? Your inner guidance just says, bam, bingo, this is the answer. This is what it is. And you know it. You have clarity and you're centered in certainty. And when your mind starts to speak, it's confusion, chaos, and storytelling. That for me has been 99.9999% perfection as far as knowing what that voice is when you're asking questions.
Right. I love that. So, while we're on this intuition topic, which I absolutely love, this is so huge, because if we can learn to listen to our intuition, so many of our problems and all this chaos or emotional and mental chaos that we have in our life will start to subside. And I wanted to know, how do we align with our intuition to find our true calling? And I would love for you to actually use this as an example by sharing with us where you now started to find your true calling, and how did you feel that? How did you sense that? How did that unfold for you?
That's so juicy. I love that. And I love to share this. Thank you for letting me share it, because it's a new, a new unfolding for me.
Yeah.
I've been an artist for probably most of my life. I've done watercolor painting for 25 or 30 years. And the funny thing is that in this period of COVID, where I was just starting to question things because I felt dry and kind of dead, and nothing was really lighting me up in my business. And so I bought a lot of watercolor paints, and I was like, it's very detailed. I don't really want to do that. So anyway, I went along just doing what I do. And one day I had a call with somebody that was a client of mine like 7 years ago. And he showed me this painting, this modality, this different medium of painting. And I went nuts. I literally went nuts. It was like this download of, inspired. It was an inspired idea. It was just this, I don't know. I haven't been that excited in a long time. So I immediately went out. I spent a lot of money on getting all the, the supplies, learning how to do it. And my doubts were coming up, because the funny thing is that, when we go to step into our true calling, oftentimes doubts will come up. This isn't going to work. You're not going to make any money. You're just going to fail again. You've done this a million times. And so what you have to do is step more boldly. In this energy right now, we are supported. And I really felt like that call that I had with that old client was as divine. It was a divine call. It was divine synchronicity. It was orchestrated by the divine. And I had such a knowing that literally for months, I would get ideas in my dreams, in my sleep. I couldn't wait to get up. I'd get up and paint in the middle of the night. And I was just on fire. And so, and just to let you know, that does dry up every once in a while, but it comes back because our wounds come up. We get triggered, things trigger us. And so we get to look at those and examine them and release them. But I had a major download. I had this inspiration that I had not had in a long time. And I had a knowing even though my mind was over here saying, this is probably not a good idea. Artists, you can't make money when you're doing art. I had this knowing, this very centered knowing that that is exactly the path I was supposed to be on. How I was going to get there, I wasn't really sure. So you can have, you can align in different ways, but a lot of times when you are practicing listening to your inner guidance, you will know when you get what I call a download, a hit. And I'm assuming a lot of the people on your summit will know what that means, but it's just this thing that drops into you and you don't know where it comes from, but it's very, like I said, very certain. You have a knowing, and that's what aligns you. And that's when I knew. I had gone through a lot of, shifts. I had transitioned in my business many times and thought that I had landed. But again, I was bored. I wasn't lit up. And so when you hit something that really lights your fire like nothing else, that's what you need to look at. And that's what you need to go after.
I love that. And I'm hearing also so much clarity in what you were doing. Like there's so much clarity in that. And please share with me and with us also, what does it feel like? What does it emotionally feel like to be in your true calling?
It is like heaven on earth. That's all I have to say. You aren't questioning yourself because you are in flow. Even when I'm doing my paintings, this is a modality that's abstract. I've never done abstract before, but I feel we're all being called to let go, to do, we are so controlling, we're control freaks. And so part of this process for me was, let go and trust. And even once in a while, like I channel these paintings for people and it's amazing what comes through because I couldn't do it. I'm the vessel, right? But I mean, part of the process is doing something that's fun. And I have various ways that you can do that. You can finger paint, you can doodle, I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're male or female. You can do all kinds of things that open you up to flow, even if you're not what you consider an artist, right? But when you start doing it, you have to allow yourself to just be in it. And whatever comes forward, let it come forward. Don't control it. Don't judge it. And that's part of that resiliency piece too. It teaches you to surrender and let go. So it's this beautiful, coming together of resilience and flow and soul purpose and all these things. It's all one.
That is so true. And it all really does beautifully merge. And actually, at the end of the day, just marry each other. They just come together. But you said something quite significant that I know the viewers will be like, it's control. So because this is something that's so innately in our nature is to control, but often sometimes to our detriment. We don't understand always necessarily with discernment how much to control and when to let go and when to move forward, so that we actually end up overcompensating. Now, I'm curious, how did you move and progress through that controlling phase? Because I even if you did go through it, I don't know, but I know sometimes when I try to do something new, it brings up so much control because I'm like, it's the unknown, it's the uncertainty, and I don't like that. and many people also would probably be able to relate to that as well. How did you tackle that? How did you move through that?
I love that question. I think number one, people need to know we are human. So there's no perfection in our process. We need to allow our process. We need to allow our feelings. I was inspired like crazy for months. And then I had something happen with a client just a few months ago that really disconnected me. It brought up my old wounds. It triggered me, which was great because that person was a teacher. They were a gift showing me where I still needed to do work. So when those kind of things happen, remember, we don't blame other people. We look within, what is it that's in me that's creating this? And so I started to back away from the art because every time I tried to do something, I was trying to control it. And I'm like, I don't like the way that turned out. It's ugly, and it wasn't fun anymore. So I just moved away from it. I started working on business stuff in my book and things that I should have been doing anyway, right? And I really spent a lot of time in reading, also meditation, this breathing, alternate breathing, just sitting and being in stillness, going outside, whatever.
Yes.
And then I was getting freaked out because I'm like, oh my God, I spent all this money. I'm supposed to be doing this and nothing's happening. And so I thought, no. And then I started getting back into watercolor. So I thought, I'm going to mix my media, put watercolor, and I'll do a hummingbird in acrylic. So it felt like it was a period where maybe I was supposed to experiment with some new things. So letting go control, again, is a process. It's like surrender. It's like when I lost my house to wildfire back in 2007 in San Diego. And I had to let go of everything that I ever had, my daughter's stuff, my stuff, everything. Right?
Oh
and
my
so I have this little stone and it says, learn to let go. And the funny thing is that over the years, letting go has become a little bit easier and a little bit easier. So it's not something you're going to learn all at one time. It's a process, and you have to love yourself through it. And a lot of times, if you think you're letting go, you're not controlling, right? Feel into your body, because a lot of times you will feel yourself. You can feel this tension in your body. It's like you're still holding on white knuckled. And you don't even really know it till you notice the tension in your body. Yeah. So then you just shake it off and you breathe and you go, okay, I've got some more work to do. And so I really want to, again, let people know you're human. Continue the work, keep moving forward, move through things, get support if you need it. But don't judge. Don't be so quick to make everything perfect, because life is messy. And this process is not a perfect process.
Yeah. That's so true. I was thinking with this control thing, and I love how you handled that. That's really significant, because I was just really feeling into that, because I know this was, at least in the past, a really big issue for me. And one thing that I noticed with control is, and here's the second part to this, it comes with fear of judgment, and also being in a place of judgment, whether it's towards ourselves, towards someone else. But I find these two are like two unhealthy friends that play together, that shouldn't play together, because they have a bad influence on each other. How did you move past this fear of maybe being judged, or anything that could have come from all these career choices that you've had? Because we all have a little bit of a uncertainty. We all have a little bit of a like, oh, I don't know, what if?
Yeah.
How did you move through that?
Well, I'm still moving through it, just to be honest. I mean, I don't have a little bit of self-judgment. I have a very loud inner critic. I have since I was little, because when I was little, I had so many wounds, people telling me I was too much, I wasn't good enough. I started out that way, and I moved through my life that way. So I can still be very judgmental of myself. When I was singing for 40 years, some days I would really be nervous. I would think I would be, I was being judged. Or if I get up to sing by myself, or at public speaking, my God, they're looking at me. What are they thinking of me? There's a book, I can't remember. I think it's by Terry Coleman. It's what you think of, what you believe, what is it? What you think of me is none of my business, I think is what it's called. And it's so true. Yeah, because it's like, why does it matter so much that other people think a certain way of us? Why is that so important? And there again, that's part of people pleasing too. I think it's all part of it. So for me, I keep moving through it. I do a lot of EFT. I do a lot of tapping. I get a lot of support. I work with hypnotherapists. I work with energy healers. This is the thing. We can do this by ourselves a lot of the times, and we have to adapt, new habits, new patterns, new ways of being and thinking and doing things. And we have to be committed to that process. For me, it's daily. I mean, you die laughing at me, Evette, because, I'm driving around in my car and I'm doing my, something happens and I'm doing my sword fingers, my Qigong or whatever. I have a toolkit and I'm not embarrassed to use it. I use it. It's part of my daily routine. I live it. So we have to live it. But when things come up and they're big, like my self-judgment is big and does tend to pop up. So when I can't contain it, or I can't release it or move through it, then I get support to work with somebody who can give me a different perspective and shift things for me. So it's an active process of moving through, I think.
I love that. Lisa, I admire how you can allow yourself to just be honest and to just be vulnerable, of course, with discernment, because the moment when we actually say out loud, I have a fear of judgment, it's almost like we start to take already 50% power away from other people, because it's not like this big elephant in the room. It's like, well, boom, it's there. So what? It's there. Just so meet it where it's at and allow yourself to be where you need to be. and actually be okay with having a fear of judgment. That's also what I'm hearing, because the more we resist the fear, the more we energize it, but the more we actually align ourselves with it just being okay, just being at peace with it being there, we stop fighting it, which means we stop energizing it. Because when we have peace with something, the energy is not flowing so much there anymore, and we can divert that energy and that focus to, working more on our soul's true calling. And that's also what I'm hearing that you're doing, and you're so clear in that.
That's so beautiful the way you described it. It's so true. I mean, it is bringing awareness to things. If we're not aware, then things will bite us and we don't even know what it is. And that's when it really affects us in a bigger way. What I was hearing also is there's something else that I say. You had said that you say, I am safe. You physically say that or mentally say that. But there's one that I started saying for us that are light workers, or, people that are really into changing and elevating and being a change for the planet. I've started to say, I fully choose to be here, or I choose to fully be here, however you want to say it, because a lot of times when we go through things, I've noticed for myself being so sensitive, sometimes I feel like I should live in a glass bubble and not even be on the planet, right? That's been my whole life experience. So I think there are a lot of times that I really didn't want to be here. I think a lot of times when I've had trauma, I've lived outside of my body. I know I have not been in my body. And so if any of you have those experiences, it's really important to use that phrase to ground and center, to embrace this journey, because we did agree to come here. Even if we don't think we did, we agreed at some point to come here for this experience. It's not going to kill us. We've done this how many times, like a lot of times before.
Yes.
But saying, I choose to fully be here, or I fully choose to be here, and I am safe. Those two phrases, I actually spent months saying every day as affirmations. And I have to tell you, Evette, that it made such a big difference, because I have had fear my whole life. And so I suggest that you try that, because it really made a difference for me.
Yeah. I can actually testify to that, because I said that to myself as well. When I get panicked, when I get overwhelmed, I literally look around me and I'm like, find something that can prove to me that I am unsafe right now.
Right. Question it. Yeah.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
So now I'm convincing my little amygdala, there's now that little inner 4-year-old, that panic button, that let's settle, it's okay, it's okay. And then through the mindfulness, what you said, I tell myself as well, I am safe, I am safe. I do exactly the same. And I do it to this day. I really do it to this day. When I have moments, which we all do, I sometimes fail to listen to my threshold. I sometimes fail to listen to my boundary limitations. And I find myself in that place and space of distress. And I'm like, no, I am okay. But I love what you said, because now I'm going to add that and say, I actually choose to be here. I choose to be here right now, consciously and powerfully. I love that.
I love that. That adds, power to it. And also, I just wanted to add, if I may, because I've been doing a lot of work around my inner child. So oftentimes we talk about that, but we don't do anything with it. And recently I have a picture that somebody drew of me when I was about 5, and I looked terribly sad, because I was. And so I have find a picture of yourself when you're young and put it on the fridge or whatever you want to do. And then talk to that little girl, that little boy, and tell them how much you love them, how much you are sorry that you were not there for them. I really feel I'm reading an inner child book too, and doing different practices, where you write a question with your right hand, and you ask yourself something, your inner child, and then you write the answer with the left hand. And it comes through, the left hand comes through as a very childlike writing, but responses come through. It's a very powerful thing for us to do. Not only is it about feeling safe being on this planet, but then dealing with this child who came in, didn't know any better, absorbed all the stuff from people around them, right? And now we're these adults walking around as wounded children, and we just have these aspects of ourselves that we need to heal.
That is so true. And when we also talk about healing and the wounds that we have, what do you feel is the importance of finding and stepping into our true soul's calling?
Well, because it heals everything. I mean, a lot of times
Yeah.
Those of us who are light workers, intuitives, we feel like, black sheep, odd ducks, like the odd man out. We shouldn't be here. There's something wrong with us. And so my whole life, I was searching for, it's like I knew I had this greater purpose, but I was listening to the world. I started a coaching business and I started doing all these masculine things, right? Which were hurting me physically, emotionally, spiritually, and otherwise. But I thought I was doing the right thing, but it was part of that journey. And it's funny because when you finally find what you're really here to do, and the funny thing is that oftentimes, if you go back to like when you were kids and you played in the sandbox forever and ever, right? And you just had fun and you just threw sand around and everything. It's kind of like going back to that. It's like, I've been an artist my whole life. I drew pictures when I was a little kid. I still have them. And the pictures I was drawing was actually, they were pictures of things that I was trying to process as a child. Now, when I look back at them, it's really amazing. So I've come full circle. And a lot of times we have this really bad idea about art. I remember when I taught art in California in the elementary schools for my daughter, because they had gotten rid of art. And my daughter one time was graded on her art. And because she got a bad grade, and I wasn't very nice to the teacher, by the way, she decided not to do art at all. And now she's a metalsmith and doing amazing things. So we have damage around creativity. We feel like it's going to be judged and ours is ugly and somebody else is better. I mean, I went to the Getty Museum and saw a dot with a target around it and it sold for like $10 million. And I was like, what? So art is art. Art is our expression, but you may not be an artist. Whatever your gift is, when you align with it, it brings you life. It's like, I say creativity for me is like oxygen. It brings life to the cells of my body. It lights me up. It makes me on fire. It makes me aligned and attached to my inner guidance, my intuition. It makes me feel alive and whole. And I don't feel like I have to be searching anymore for anything. And that's why I'm taking the big risk and jumping all in, because that's what the divine told me to do and I'm doing it. So that's how important it is. It's life-giving. It's absolutely, and you know why you're here on the planet when you get to it. And it gives your life meaning. That's really what it, and you help other people too. You're an example to other people to find their true calling as well.
I love that, because what I realize is that the more we heal and the more we step into our calling, the more we become clear in that, we raise someone else into that level of potential and open up that for them, especially someone who's maybe going through a hard time, maybe someone who is not in alignment with that quite yet, but you plant that potential in there.
Yes.
Yeah,
well,
so
and it takes time. It just sometimes takes time. It's divine timing. It's just you have to walk that, like we were talking about, the synchronicities, the orchestrated those little pieces that you get that get you eventually to where so many times we get to a place and we want to stop because we want to give up. And so I'm almost 63. It took me 62 years to get here.
Right.
I didn't give up. So don't give up.
And you're doing amazing. You're living your absolute best dream right now. And I am thrilled that you met this beautiful place and space for you, and that you're just diving into that and you're standing so strong in that. I mean, I'm watching you on social media and I love when you share your artwork, and then the artwork is now in tights and then it's in pillowcases, and I'm like, oh my God, what is next? I love it. It's so exciting to watch you. It's inspiring. It's so inspiring. It really is. And Lisa, I know that you have also a little tip that I would love for you, that you maybe said we have time, so that you would like to share with us about gratitude journaling.
Yeah, I have so many tips, but I'm glad you gave me that one to do. It's something that I just started doing. And this was from a fellow artist who has really made it big by doing it. One of the things she did to get there. She has over 17 journals of future gratitude. And the funny thing is that life is a game. I know it doesn't seem that way. It really is. And life wants to respond to you. And when you're feeling down in the doldrums all the time, life is going to respond to your energy. That's what it's going to do. It's just the way it is. I can't, it's a law. So when I started doing future gratitude and just committing to it, first of all, gratitude opens you up to everything anyway. It elevates your vibrations, being grateful for what you have right now, instead of wanting stuff all the time and not knowing how blessed you are already. But future gratitude, when you can journal it, journaling is really important to do it. but I also like to say it. Like, for example, I want to have a really huge art studio with, floor to ceiling windows. I want huge canvases, supplies, workshops going on, a gallery, people coming in and buying my stuff from all over the world. And so when I say that, when I write it, and then when I say it, it's like, oh my God, I am so incredibly jazzed and grateful. It's unbelievable. I have this incredible studio. It is everything I've ever dreamed of. I have windows and brightness and space and all the paints in the. So do you see, you're feeling it real. You're nebulizing, as Joe says, right? You're making it real. It's already happened. You're in it. You're feeling it. You're feeling the gratitude of already having it and already having gotten to that space.
Yes.
And when I say it, I can write it, but when I say it, my vibrations go through the roof. I can actually see that studio in my mind's eye. And so to do that is one of the most powerful things you can do. Don't do it once, don't do it 5 times. Sit down and commit to doing it. Do it for 5 minutes a day and then speak it. And my artist friend, like I said, in 8 months has 17 future gratitude journals. She went from 0 to, I think she's working her way towards 7 figures in 8 months. And she attributes it, one of those, as that, to me, as being one of the biggest things that helped get her where she is now. It's a crazy thing. It's amazing.
I love that. And this makes perfect sense, because I always say that right now, every step that you take, every thought that you now create or have, you are building and contributing your tomorrow. You're contributing and building your future. So if you don't like or what you see, or you have a fear of that, now's the time to change that. And the beauty is that the power of the mind is phenomenal, and we can already start to influence that by something so easy yet so powerful. But we also have to be committed and loyal to our future, because if we're not, then it's going to fizzle out. We have to be committed.
Absolutely. That's part of the process. So often we keep buying courses and we keep buying books and we keep doing things, but we're looking for a magic pill, and there isn't one. We're the equation. If there's a problem, it's us. We're the part of the equation that's not working. It's because we're not committed. We're not disciplined. And like I said, and I'm sure you teach this also, just do one thing differently that you have never done before. Do it for 30 to 60 days and see what happens, but do it consistently. Otherwise, you will see no change. So you're the missing component when the things aren't working for you. So step in and do it. Commit to it.
Commitment. I love it. I love it. Lisa, what an absolute pleasure to have you. What an insightful interview, aha moments, and also just the beauty that you shared of your own rawness, because that's life. Thank you for showing us that you can be at the top, but you can also have your moments, and it's okay to have these moments. I think what I'm so a ton of things that I'm taking away, but so many of it is, stop being hard on yourself. Stop beating yourself up. Just be you. Just be you. And the judgment and everything else like that, or fears that you have, or control that you have, be okay with these components being there, and take the power away, but just allowing instead of resisting.
Yes. Oh, yes. That's huge. Thank you. I love the conversation. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Get back in the flow with Lisa. So Lisa, you also do classes, right? You do online classes with this artwork. Am I right?
Yeah, I'm doing workshops. As a matter of fact, I'm doing one in December for a private group. So I started it and people love it. And it's so much fun. Evette, when people get into the art, even when they kind of start stuffy, right? Stuffy adult syndrome, they're like, I'm going to do it by the end. And we usually go a half an hour to an hour over. A lot of times they are giggling. They've got paint all over their hands everywhere, like little kids. And it really is an absolute joy. I mean, I will continue to do it because it opens people up in amazing ways.
We forgot how to play, and it's time to play back into our creativity and into our power, because we think we have to fight for it, but we don't. Play back into your place of power and play into your purpose, because it's meant to be fun. I always tell my team before we start every day, I'm like, guys and ladies, if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. Hit those milestones, but you must have fun while you do it, because if you're not, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah, heavy is hard and hard is low vibes, and and you will go nowhere. So yeah, keep it light and keep it high.
I love it. Lisa, thank you so much for being here with me today. And everyone, you're going to be finding everything from Lisa here down on the page. And I'm so excited, and I look forward to collaborating more with you to bring more in of this awesomeness and to share that with people. And thank you for your love and your energy and for everything that you do for the planet and everything that you're contributing to people's lives, because we need more movers and shakers. We need more light workers. So thank you so much for everything that you do.
Thank you. I am blessed and honored again to be here. You are a mover and shaker, and you are a goddess of love and light. So thank you for all that you do.
That makes two of us. Yes. Lisa, have a wonderful time. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And until next time, be the light that you are.